This is Dr. Greg Hall once again with Better Black Health, brought to you by Genetic Sequence Multivitamins. Still the only multivitamins designed specifically for African Americans, as well as the Better Black Health book on sale on Amazon and everywhere else in the world that sells books. Today we have Dr. Nikia Smith, a practicing board-certified anesthesiologist and wellness coach. She's also the founder of She Is Fire Forged, baby. No, just the she is without the baby. She is Fire Forged, a transformative wellness brand that helps high-achieving women of color reclaim their peace, power, and purpose. With over a decade of experience in the high-stress world, the very high-stress world of medicine, Nikia brings deeply informed lens to conversations about burnout, boundaries, and emotional restoration, which I sometimes need emotional restoration.
We all need that. We need
Right.
that a lot.
Nikia, she specializes in guiding women, as particularly Black women, in leadership and healthcare roles through the exhaustion that comes from constantly being everything to everyone. Wow. She equips her clients with the tools to say no without guilt, build lives rooted in their own definitions of success, which is important, and live in softness over survival mode. Her work blends evidence-based wellness tools with embodied spiritual practice, which I love that too, creating a holistic path forward, rooted in softness, sustainability, and self-trust. So let's welcome Dr. Nikia Smith.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely, I'm happy. So how did you go from She Is Fire Forged, and the goal, one of the goals is related to softness. I mean, it's almost like two ends of the spectrum. Talk about that for me.
It is, but I think when I first started my company, I was literally in the throes of my burnout. And so I felt that heat, like you can feel it. I was waking up exhausted. I was so stressed. I just felt drained and I didn't know how to fix it. And so then as I decided, like, okay, I'm going to come out of this better than before, it kind of reminded me of a phoenix, right? So I'm like, okay, I hit the fire. I'm rising from the fire and I'm more powerful in it. And so the fire did not define me. It did not burn me. It just made me stronger.
Right.
But also that message of we don't have to always be the strong one. There is a component to surviving your life that needs softness, that needs vulnerability, that needs help and community and connection. And so I think that we are strong in different ways, but I do think that there is strength in softness.
Right. And so where does in Black women, I'm married to a white Black woman, and I'm the son of a Black woman, and a grandson of 3 Black women, right? Where did that be everything for everyone thing come from?
Listen, I have been talking about this, and I've been talking to my mom about this and talking to my grandmother about this. Like, what is happening? I think for me especially, it's just what I witnessed, right? I witnessed my mom not only working every day, but also handling a majority of the home tasks. Now, I'm not going to say my dad did not contribute. My dad did laundry and cooked as well. But my mom was pretty much like doing it all, and she was in charge of everything. Right. Planning the vacations, planning all the appointments, taking us back to school shopping, all of the grocery shopping. So those tasks were hers. And I saw it. And so she said she also witnessed it growing up. Her mom also worked and then also did all of the homekeeping. And so it kind of just gets passed down. But also, I was just watching TV. You know, I'm always watching TV and seeing these same messages get passed through. And so it's just something that we witness and embody before we fully know what's happening. Right. And I'm like, well, it's time to start making some changes.
Yeah. And I wonder if sometimes it's from when you're talking about watching TV, when you think about when there's a Black family on TV, and maybe it's just, I'm old, so the classic Black family TV shows, even when there was a husband, the woman was the star. You know, Florida was the star of Good Times, right? Yes. And then James was not first, and then all of them. And then when there was a Black man, that was the star. There was not a Black woman. You know what I mean? You think of Sanford and Son. I mean, there was always either the woman was dead or they, the Wayans brothers or whoever there was. There wasn't yeah, right. So it was a family. So it's almost like you see that, and those women were everything to everyone. They were the person that everyone kind of came to, and so maybe some of that, seeing that, like you say, seeing it at home. It was that way with my mother. It's that way with my wife. She does the kids' taxes, and they're grown. You know what I'm saying? and but they love having her do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can
Yeah,
do
I
that.
still rely on my mom. I told her, I'm like, I still rely on you heavily. But
Right.
she said, I mean, like, so we've had these discussions about how, she does enjoy that. Like, there is some proponent to being needed or wanting to be needed.
Right.
And there is some proponent to being like, okay, I raised an independent child, but luckily I can still help them in some ways.
Right. Right. But you might suggest that
Mhm.
all of this responsibility can be overwhelming at times, right?
Yes. It can be overwhelming at times, especially I think in the crux of it. Like right now in my 40s, I have a lot of clients and a lot of friends who are taking care of parents and children. And
Mhm.
so at this moment, when you have a toddler and a sick parent and your job and your own home, it becomes overwhelming. I speaking to my mom, she goes, actually, at this point in my life, it's great because now I'm retired. I have free time. I
Mhm.
would love to help you in any capacity that I can, or
Right.
I'm not on that track of trying to get promoted at work or whatever it is. So I think that there is a time and a space for everything. And again, it's not your burden. The children are grown, so
Right.
helping them out is just because you want to, not out of obligation
Right.
necessarily.
Right. But it does it set up a situation so that when there is an upheaval
Hmm.
in the mother or the person's life, I should say, that
Hmm.
now all of a sudden, well, you did my taxes last year. You've been doing the shopping. What I mean,
Yeah.
you did all that stuff. Why aren't you doing it now? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you volunteered to do something that you wanted to help do, but don't you also create sort of the reliance on on the person, and then to your point, doing the high function. Now I'm the CEO of the hospital and also a daughter and a mother and a wife, you know what I mean, and want to do these things, but now there's mounting responsibilities on me. I know it's just like sort of a weird sort of question, but what do you tell them? How do they fix that or make this um, tolerable?
Yeah, that's a very delicate situation because you want to be helpful, but not completely relied upon and not have to do things out of obligation just because you've done it before, right? And so
Mhm.
I do think that setting the expectation and using the correct language when doing these things matters. If your child is coming to you like, hey, you did my taxes last year, do it again this year, that's a conversation that needs to be had because it's like, well, no, I helped you out last year, but I don't have to help you out this year. So, but if someone is like, hey, you helped me with my taxes last year and you did a great job, do you have time to help me this year? Those are two different asks, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of depends around the entirety of the relationship. And so for me, especially like a lot of my clients have younger kids, I have a great relationship with my mother in that capacity. So I'm always trying to coach them from that. But so when I coach my clients, I'm like, I'm not a mother by choice, but I have a great relationship with my mom. And I can
Mhm.
tell you how we got to that point. If you want a relationship with your mom like how I have with mine, and it always started with like I just was saying it today when I was when I was young, all the way through high school, I always got I'm not your little friend. I'm not your little
Mhm.
friend. We were not friends. It was always a clear parent and child relationship until I literally became an adult in which
Mhm.
she flipped the switch. And so I do think that that had some impact on the respect and the way that things are handled. It's not
Mhm.
like I have to do this treat for you, but now we're changing our dynamic and I will do this for you.
Mhm.
And when you come with a request, whether it's a child or a friend or a parent, with that kind of understanding, I think it makes the relationship better.
Right, right, right. And you also mentioned being able to say no without guilt. I mean, that's a big. I have trouble saying no without feeling
That's a tough
guilty. And
one.
what's the advice related to doing something like that?
That the first thing I say is it's not easy. It's simple. Say, oh, just say no. That's a
Mhm.
very simple thing to say, but it's not an easy thing to do. So I always tell people just because it sounds simple does not make it easy, and
Mhm.
you have to practice it. It's literally like working out, where it's just very very hard at first, and then you can kind of get into a flow, but then you might hit your next plateau and it becomes hard again, right? So just because you're like, oh, I started saying no at work, okay, great, but what other spaces can you say no in? How do you say no to your family? How do you say no to your kids? And then it becomes its own thing all over again. So I
Mhm.
say it just takes practice, and the best way to start is saying no to the things that you already don't want to do. So
Right.
many of us say yes to things that we already know we don't want to do, and those that's the best place to start. And then you're
Yeah.
going to get to the point of saying no to things you actually do want to do, but you just know that you don't have the time, capacity, or money for it. And that becomes harder, right?
Right. And people don't get mad so much when you say no as you would anticipate. I mean, they get over it.
Exactly.
I mean, they're not mad at you. Yeah, it's weird, but I hate panel discussions. When people ask me to speak and they want me to be on a panel, I just had terrible experiences on panel discussions, and so I, I just like the last panel discussion I did was a terrible experience. What I mean?
Yes.
So I said the next time someone asks me, I'm gonna tell them no. you know,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, what can we do?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'd rather just speak for 20 minutes, tell you what I want to say, and not be on a panel." Okay, we'll do that. So it
And that
worked out
actually
for
opens
me.
up more opportunity. You said
Yeah,
no to something you didn't want to do and actually got an opportunity to do what you actually wanted to do.
right.
So I'm just like, listen, things will happen, but the only way to free up time, to free up energy, to free up like space mentally and emotionally is
Mm.
start saying no to things that you already know are going to drain you.
So tell me this: what's it like being a black woman anesthesiologist? I'm assuming in a big hospital. Is
Mhm.
that what are the dynamics related to that, and how did that start forging some of these things that you decide to do on the side?
Yeah, it's been very interesting, I would say. So for me, at first, it didn't feel it. It always felt rewarding, but it didn't feel like much because I did train at Howard University. So although there was no anesthesia program there, I was always just surrounded by Black doctors and Black patients and Black excellence.
Right.
So when I left that, like, little bubble and went into the real world, it was definitely a reality to be the only Black woman or one of two. And it's very draining. Anytime I'm the only Black one, it's its own thing. And then if I'm one of two, I'm always confused with the other person, even though we look nothing alike. Oh, are you like, no, we look
Yeah.
nothing
Right.
alike. There's nothing about us. We're different in age, we're different in skin tone, we're different in height, we're different in every single way except for one thing. So like how so I did recently talk about those microaggressions, and I asked a colleague of mine who is my same exact age, of a different race and male. I said, do people ask you every time, like, oh, how old are you, how long have you been doing this,
Are you the
and I'm
first
just
in
like,
your family?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Right.
old enough, long enough, thank you, I have good skincare, like, I don't, like, I'm old, I'm grown, like, I don't even
Yeah.
say,
Right. Right.
I
Right.
just, but it gets exhausting to have to always like explain myself. Like, yes, I am your doctor. Yes, I am old enough. Yes, I've been doing this on my first time today, or not my first time in the past 10 years. Like,
Right. 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 I can do this. Yeah. I.
my colleagues don't get those same questions. And although it doesn't come across as like negative, but it does, like, it drains my energy every time because I know that they don't get these same questions every time.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, and I remember when I was younger, I used to get that, and of course now with
Mm-hmm.
the gray hair, I don't get that, but I used to get, did you play basketball? What does that have to do with anything? And no, I'm uncoordinated. I don't play basketball. It's like, but why? It's like, why do I have to play? Or I look like Lionel Richie. Now Lionel Richie's older than me, but his hair is black. What I mean? So I gotta still be Lionel Richie, basketball playing doctor who may or may not have enough experience to do what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic because I was just like, anybody else getting these questions? They're just like, no. I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay.
So
Hmm.
when did you find out that there are other women, high achieving women, like that? That's like a niche, right? I mean, there are a lot of achieving women, and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of overachieving Black women for sure.
Yes, for
But
sure.
when did you realize that, like, that's a niche that I need to concentrate on?
I mean, that was just through my own journey. Like, I literally have burned out twice. And after the first time, I started talking about it, about my burnout experience, about my recovery. And that just drew people to me. Like, they were just like, yeah, me too. And then
Mhm.
I realized, okay, this is bigger than me. It's bigger than just like, oh, I just need to do better self care. This is something that we're all experiencing across different fields, not even just in healthcare. So then I
Mhm.
was like, okay, then after my second time nearly burning out, I was like, okay, this is definitely something that we have to actively protect ourselves from.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's easy to get just caught in that system. So you'll burn out, you'll take a break, you get back in the system, you ease in, but then it ramps up and then you're going to burn out again. And so I was just like, well, if I decided that I want to help people at their most vulnerable state, for all my patients who are undergoing anesthesia, I need to help the ones who are just like me. So I need to help these Black women who are in
Mm.
these systems, who are trying to be successful, trying to help, trying to do the best they can, and live the lives that we were like told to live without constantly burning themselves out and getting in that cycle.
Right, right. So when you found out about, like, when I learned about best practice with communicating with patients, and and to
Mm-hmm.
building trust, all the stuff that we have to do with Black patients particularly, I
Yeah.
learned about reflection, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
literally learned it reading an article. Like, when someone says, "Oh my God, I'm just overwhelmed. This is terrible. All these things are happening to me are terrible," I would just nod. You know what I mean? And then I learned, oh no, you're supposed to reflect. Wow, this is a lot of pressure on you, huh? You know what I mean?
Then,
And
yeah.
learn this thing. And then when I applied it, I was like, oh my God, they're like, Dr. Hall, you're so sensitive. And I'm like, I just learned that. You know what I mean? So I was surprised that reflection was a thing, that just, you don't, or not saying, I know how you feel, which is like a
Right.
knee jerk response, but you have no idea how they feel,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what they're experiencing, right? So did you learn something when you were talking about dealing with burnout that surprised you, that wasn't a natural response on your part, that you said, "Oh, this is an interesting approach."
Yeah. I think that in doing my research and like recovering from burnout and learning about compassion fatigue and all the things that a lot of us health providers live with, I think that the biggest reflective point that I try to share as often as possible is that you don't recover in isolation, right? I think the first step, you think, oh, I'm just so tired. I just need to sleep and get away for a week and not be like answering to anybody. And that does help with the first emotional and mental overload.
Mm-hmm.
But the real way to come through your burnout is through engagement. And I think that's part of it. When you're burnt out, you're disengaged, you're becoming numb,
Mm-hmm.
you're too overwhelmed. But as you try to recover from that, you need to be engaged back with yourself. Like, what makes you happy? What can
Mm-hmm.
you do to bring more joy and fulfillment to your life? But also with those people around you that truly, I mean, are truly like your next step, right? I don't know how to say it, like your next step. Like for me, it's like my niece and my family. Like
Right,
those people are truly my legacy, truly who I want to impress in life and who I want to live a good life for. And when I
right,
think about my niece possibly entering medicine and experiencing what I've experienced, I'm like, oh, that can't happen. So me recluding and then going back through my burnout cycle is not helping me, but it's also not helping her. And so
right.
when you start thinking about your legacy and the children or whoever's coming behind you, it makes you have to move a little bit differently.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's a good point. And so when you think about, you're not, well, a number of good points. So like when you burn out, you go to bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pull the covers over your head. You sleep from Friday night to Sunday night. With just getting
Yeah.
up to go to the bathroom, that's because you feel like that's what you need. You need to get away, but you're
Mm-hmm.
saying that you can do that initially, but then you need to be more deliberate about engaging, and that's the part that people. How do you get out of the bed? How do you get out of the house? And how do you do that? How do you get out on you when you're isolated like that? How
Yeah.
do you do that?
And that's yeah, that's the hard part is you have to have a community, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
those are the people that are worth getting out of bed to, worth talking to, and you don't want to talk. We all have had those moments where like, I don't want to talk to anybody for like a week, but then that person calls and you're like, oh, I have to talk to them. And you
Mhm.
remember that every time you do talk to them, they make you laugh, they have an inside joke, or you guys can sit in silence and be together. And so the community aspect is really important. And we've known that for history, right? Like from the very beginning, you needed a community to survive. We needed a
Right.
community through training, you need a community through school. And so you have to make sure that you have that community. And if you don't have a community, you have to be intentional about finding that.
And it's an excellent point. So when you talk about softness, we started on that, living in softness and versus survival mode. I mean, and we all, I know I have lived in survival mode for a very, very, very long time. And I know
Mhm.
most of the people I know are,
Yes, have.
we're living in survival mode. You're living from check to check. You're doing this. You're paying a note. You're paying the taxes.
Mhm.
That's survival mode versus living in softness. What does living in softness mean to you? What image should I have in my mind when I'm going to start living in softness?
Right. And so that's a very personal thing, right? For everybody, their own definition of softness is different. But for me, I'd say like the general thing that I want people to take away is that it's having community, it's being unafraid to say no because you know that your community will understand. Those people that you say no to, they'll be like, I get it. I know you had a busy week and I know you can't make it. Maybe we can get together next week. It's
Right.
also asking for help. And I always say, educate, like, if you are afraid of asking for help because you think it makes you look weak or incapable or whatever, then the first thing I want you to do is that the next time someone offers help, just don't say no,
Right.
because people are offering help frequently. We just don't see it because we're
Right.
so used to doing everything on our own. Like, can I help you with this? No, I got it. I mean, yes, you do got it, but they can also just like, yeah, you actually can help me with this. You actually can wheel my groceries out. You actually can bring dinner by my house. Like, it's
Right.
fine. So just try to just that softness, like letting people help you, letting people love you, letting people see you at your worst, because now we're in social media and people don't want to be seen at their worst. They only
Be
want to
way
be seen when
worse.
they're
Yeah.
on. Those
Yeah.
are the soft things that I am talking about. And for me, my personal softness is a soft, slow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that even now when I go to work. It takes me 10 minutes. I just wake up and the first thing I don't do is reach for my phone like I
Mm-hmm.
used to. The first
Right.
thing I do is I stretch in my bed, I make my coffee, and I sit with my gratitude journal. And
Right.
that is my definition of softness. Like, that's how I softly start my day.
Right, right, and that's so good for everyone.
Yeah.
That's being able to ease. And I'm reading a Liberated Mind by Tim Goller, and it talks about don't jump. And it's a doctor thing for us. I I leave my phone downstairs, so I'm upstairs so that because I get texts and emails it would be binging all night. I never get any sleep. But when I
Yeah.
come, the first thing I do is get up, come downstairs, and look at my phone.
Yeah.
And I still do that, and there's softness in that for me, that I haven't missed any catastrophe. What I mean,
Yeah.
in the
Yo,
night.
woo!
Yeah, like no one texts me all night, so great. But being able to have what you said, whatever it needs to be, that whatever that means for you. Maybe that's getting up listening to gospel music. Maybe it's
Mhm.
getting up and sitting out on your back porch for a minute, or whatever. Maybe it's meditating. All of those things are different. Whatever it is, I got to make sure everyone's alive.
Yeah.
As a primary care doctor, there's always stuff that's going on, and that gives me peace. That okay, I haven't missed anything all night, so I'm not like mad at myself for having to still do that, even though I do still do that.
Mhm.
But it's like it's because I choose to do it, to your
Yeah.
point. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Of course.
And
It's how
so
you. Mhm.
no, yeah, so it's like when you prioritize whatever it is your priority is, there's peace in that, right?
Yes, because life is hard. And so life is hard even when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and everything is going away, something will always happen. Always.
Mm.
We already know this. Some type of crisis is inevitably going to happen. And so you want to make sure that at the times when the crisis is not there, you are allowing it just to be that peace. And so
Right.
whatever that is, I always feel like it doesn't have to be big. It can be just like, oh, I wake up, my phone, nobody has had a catastrophe overnight, and I have a moment of gratefulness. Like, I'm like, yes, thank you, because nothing has happened. And if it's not the morning, if you have kids and your mornings are too hectic, I'm like, I do red light meditations, red light gratitude, or you just sit in your car for 5 minutes before you walk into work and just say, whatever you're grateful for, or just tell one person, hey, you crossed my mind. I've
Mm.
been thinking of you. And that's been my new thing. Like, whenever I think of somebody, I'm trying to message them in the moment, because too many times have passed where I thought of somebody, and later when I finally contacted them, they were like, "Yeah, last month was crazy," and I'm like, "I had a feeling that I should
Right.
have reached out to you, and I didn't." And
Right.
so I'm trying to be more intentional about like just that small thing. Like, my softness is like making sure my friends know that I care about them and I'm
Right.
thinking about
Right. And that's a very good thing. And I get someone will come to my mind and they'll call me, and I was like, wow, I just sent you ESP because I was literally just
them.
thinking about you.
It's
And
crazy how that kind of works out, right? And you're just like, I
yeah,
was just thinking of you, and then they message you or you message them, and they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you messaged me. Like,
right.
this is what's going on." I'm like, wow.
I was just saying I'm not able to monetize it. If I could monetize that that ESP, I'd be doing something. So
That would be
another
great.
thing that struck me in your introduction, talking about redefining success. And so as
Mm-hmm.
we again with social media, we see all this overwhelming success, and a lot of people, or at least a perception of overwhelming success.
Right.
You know, and it's like, wow, that person has a nice basement. My basement looks like junk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That person's living room,
Mhm.
that person's driving XYZ. and
Yeah.
and it makes you when you're able to see how people live, and all these vistas that they look out on, and all this traveling they're doing, it can make you think you've been a failure, or maybe it's just me. And like, well, I should be more of a success. I'm a doctor. Well, I should be more successful than that.
Mhm.
But should I? I mean, when you talk about redefining success,
Mhm.
um, what do you mean by that?
So this has been a journey for me because when I first became a doctor, people put their expectations on you, right? So then I was driving like an Acura, and they're like, "You're a doctor now. You're gonna get a new car?" And I was like, "No, my car is fine." You know. And then
Right.
I buy my house, and they're like, "You're not buying in a gated community with all this stuff." And I was like, "No, what do I need? What do I need gates for? Who is coming for me? Nobody is coming for me. I just need a regular house." So people were already just projecting like, "You should have a bigger house. You should have a nicer car. You should have all of these things." And I was just like, "Okay, noted," but I don't really care, but I could see people succumbing to those pressures or those expectations,
Hmm.
right? But for me, the worst year of my life was when I took my highest paying job. Like I was making a lot of money. I was gone all the time. I was busy working, busy being on call. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm really successful. I have all this money and I can't do anything. I'm too tired to do anything. I'm always busy and I'm always at work. So what is this really about? And why would I live like this for the next 10 years? And that
Right.
was the part when I got to my burnout. And I realized that for me to be successful, I felt like I needed to be free,
Hmm.
and that would not be what your definition of success is. Maybe you do want a lot of money and you do want fancy cars. People are car people, people are house people. That's
Right.
fine. I'm a freedom person. I want to be free and travel. And so I had to think about that. I'm like, well, if I say that I value freedom, my time with family and friends and traveling, working 80 million hours is not any of my
No,
values. I'm not
not in line with that, is it? Yeah.
I'm just like, it's not any of my values. So I'm just lying
Right.
to myself. And so I realized that I needed to work less, and that would be making less money. But also I was like, well, I don't actually care or need that much.
Hmm.
People tell me I need this much, but I
Right.
actually don't
Don't.
care about any of these things.
Right. Right.
Um, so I just had to be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's your perception of what a doctor should be driving a new car. My car is 10 years old. I bought it off Carvana. I'm cool with that. Like, so just me being cool with it just changed everything. And, over the past few years when I've had some really immense family trauma, sickness and death, and I've been working less and able to travel and be available, I'm
Hmm.
just like living in my truth. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. To me,
Right.
being successful is someone calls me and says I'm in the hospital, and I say, bet I can be there tomorrow. That's
Right.
success.
That's success, right? And I think that's what people think. What they have to look at what makes them happy versus what society is telling you will make you happy, right? And
Yeah,
then that's I think that's one of the main things, because society will tell you what they think you
yeah,
should
what you
be
should
doing.
have.
And you know, hey, I can joke with you because you're an anesthesiologist. I'm an internal medicine doctor. People say, well, why didn't you become a surgeon? And I'm like,
Why would I do that?
why would I want? Why would I want to be like somehow I missed out on becoming a surgeon? You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, you don't know enough surgeons.
No,
You know
that
what
is
I
not a
mean?
life. That is not a life
It's
I
like
want.
we can laugh, but people think I'm a failure. If only I had been a surgeon, then you then Dr. Hall, you'd be the creme de la creme. But anyway, just sticking with that. So let's, as parting thoughts, what do you black women listen? Black women are engaged. They're in health. Most of our listeners are better black women, right? And so if someone's listening out there and they're struggling to find balance, or they need to redefine what they think their success is, or they're dealing with a bad relationship, even though they know very well they shouldn't be, what's
Mm-hmm.
the first few steps that they could be taking to kind of recapture their lives?
And I say this for all the listeners, women and men, but especially women. The first thing is to forgive yourself, right? They say you make your decisions based on what you know. Once you know better, then you do better. So don't live in that I should have, I should have, I should have. A lot of
Mhm.
us live in those should haves. Forgive yourself for that. You didn't. It was the past. It's over. Now, what can we do? And the second thing is this is where the community comes in. Find a friend, a therapist, a coach, someone that you feel like you can confide in and share. You'll find that you feel a lot of relief just letting it out. And you
Mhm.
can really get to those emotions behind whatever it is, like the relationship, the stress, the burnout, once you start talking about it. And that's where we come in. I can coach you, I can help you find community, and If not, if you have good friends, like this is where good friends come in, like real friends. Not, I mean, I love a brunch friend, but we need a
Yeah.
real friend, you
Right,
know?
right. Real estate. Right, right. So if people wanted to follow you on social media or something, where would they go?
Yes, on social media, at Nikia Smith MD and at She Is Fire Forged. And I also have my website, www.sheisfireforged.com. If you go /free, I have some free resources about exhaustion and burnout. And you can also schedule a call with me there so I can help you in the best way that I can.
Oh, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. Well, listen, it's been great talking to you, and thanks so much for joining us on Better Black Health.
Thank you for doing this. I appreciate having a platform like this for us.
Very good. Thanks. None of the statements that I have made have been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Genetic sequence multivitamins are not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any diseases. Furthermore, none of my statements should be construed as dispensing medical advice or making claims regarding the cure or prevention of diseases. You should consult your own licensed healthcare provider before starting any supplement, diet change, or exercise program, especially if you're pregnant or have pre-existing injuries or medical conditions. Remember, having a doctor is always your best option.